Gamers, what's good? We're back. Yeah, we got hacked like a couple days ago, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought the channel was done for. I thought it was over. I might have been a bit too pessimistic about it. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I'm really really happy to see that the channel is back. Everything's back to normal. We're gonna keep going with our grind here, and I'm super happy that I got back before Wednesday because we're getting some new cards in the game that are actually going to change the game. Finally, a new meta. I know a lot of people have been sick and tired of the same old fire meta for months now. I think we've been playing this like Snake Eyes variant meta for like 4 months, give or take. So yeah, I'm pretty damn happy that we're finally going to get a pretty big switch up. And the reason for that is because we have some leaks getting confirmed, and those leaks are Yubel. Now, this card in particular right here, you know, it's not the most impressive thing ever. We have a couple of confirmed rarities, but, you know, the reason that I'm excited is because we did get leaks prior to this, and, you know, a lot of the cards that are coming, like Yubel is supposed to come pretty much full power with the Phantom of Yubel, and I'll show you that card later. Like, if we really are getting that card, and if we do, I think it's going to be UR as well. That card is absolutely going to change the game. It is so insane. And the Phantom of Yubel has me really excited because it's a fusion monster that you can contact fuse from the hand. And just the idea of doing any extra deck stuff from the hand that is actually really easy to do and super strong is just crazy to me. Plopping down what is going to be a monster negate as your first summon before you even get into your combos. If you feel like you can maybe play around max C, if your opponent decides to hold it or something. You can also pressure into a gamma because people will probably want to shotgun max C. So playing gamma once Yubel is out is probably going to be a pretty good play. But we'll talk about that a bit more later. Here we can look at some of the confirmed rarities and also the archetypes and stuff that we're getting. So we are getting the new Yubel stuff, and if the leaks are correct, we're going to be getting Phantom of Yubel, which is why I'm super excited. For this Centurion stuff, I hope that we don't have too many like ultra rares for this deck. Now, I did hear that this deck is not too bad. Like, when I tested it, it was atrocious, but I was definitely just playing it wrong, you know, like I was just testing it without really like watching, you know, like combo replays or whatever. Like, I was just trying to learn how the deck functions. So definitely I don't have enough testing to be able to say whether this deck is bad or anything like that. From what I hear, it's all right. You know, it's all right. It's all right. Then we have the Magispector support coming out. Magispector now going to have like 2 1-card combos. So, you know, shout out to the Magispector people. That's probably why they put Kirin back to 3 on the last ban list. So, you know, that's really cool. Ryu over here confirmed the UR. This is basically a pretty essential piece of your combo, like your 1-card combo, if you will, for the deck. So it makes sense to make this one a UR, I suppose. I don't know if Magispector has a lot of URs already. I'm guessing not, but probably at least 1 or 2. Then we have Typhon coming. This card is really interesting. We can read this one together right now. I'll just tell you right now, I think this card is going to be really good in slower paced decks. Decks like Labyrinth will probably benefit greatly from a card like this, but I do think it's actually a really well designed card. So during the turn or the turn after your opponent special summoned 2 or more monsters from the extra deck, you can Xyz summon this card by using 1 monster you control with the highest attack. If you do, you cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, right? So this has to be the last summon of your turn. That's why I say that it's probably better in like a more slow-paced deck, but it has a lot of upsides. While this Xyz monster is on the field, neither player can activate the effects of monsters with 3,000 or more attack. That's already really huge because a lot of the extra deck monsters that you'll be like kind of trying to break the board of are going to be 3,000 or more attack. And then also you can detach 1 material from this card, return 1 monster from the field to the hand. So you can just, let's say there's a Baron on the field. Well, without even letting her use her interruption, you can just detach a material, bounce the Baron, and then go on with whatever you were doing, or go, you know, beat over a monster. I don't think it's the best card on the planet. I think it's pretty smart that they made it so you can't summon after, because it would be pretty crazy if you could like, you know, just plop down a Typhon and then swing and make a Zeus. Like, that would be probably a bit too overpowered. But as it stands, I think it's actually a pretty well designed card. I actually think for like, it seems really, really strong, but also really, really fair at the same time. So I like it a lot. Iron Thunder, I'm not familiar with this one. So this is when a spell/trap or monster effect is activated on the field, pay half your life points, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card, then destroy any other card in the same column the destroyed card was in that are in the monster zone or spell and trap zones. I see. So this is basically like Solemn Judgment, but for cards on the field. Like, that's the idea. And obviously it'll pop an extra card as well, but the limitation being that it won't negate an activation from hand or an activation from the grave or something like that if you would need it to. I mean, it seems solid. I'm sure some decks would run this. I mean, like, you know, it's a good counter trap. Decks that are running counter traps will probably want to run this. It's a shame that it's a UR. I think it'd be really cool if this was not a UR and we had like kind of like a budget version of Solemn Judgment for people that want to build trap decks, but their account is like more combo oriented. But still, pretty interesting card. I don't think it looks bad at all. There's another pack that they're dropping, which I'm not entirely sure about this one. This is a Xyz focus pack, Xyz Explosion. And so far they've confirmed a couple of the URs, so these cards here are going to be reprinted. But I don't really get it. It's cool, I guess. You know, if you're looking for certain UR Xyz monsters, I know like Hope Harbinger is pretty useful right now with Horus being around. Yeah, I don't know. This is a really weird one for me. I'm not 100% sure why we're getting an Xyz pack. I am super excited for this pack, however. And Centurion, I feel like I was kind of downplaying this a bit. I will say this deck is really cool. Mechanically, it's really interesting. I was just saying that I'm not sure how good it's going to be. Not to say that I think it's necessarily bad. Just we don't have Calamity in the game, right? So this deck, a big part of its game plan is Calamity, so without that we're gonna have to get a bit more creative, and I think that is gonna hurt the ceiling of the deck quite a bit. But I'm definitely gonna be covering this deck. I mean, I think it's interesting enough that it warrants, you know, at least learning about it and making a video on it. So I'll at least make one video on Centurion after it drops, because I am quite interested in it, and I'm definitely gonna be trying to get better at it on stream before the pack comes out. I'm gonna be practicing both this and Yubel on stream probably the day before the pack comes out. Just so you know, I feel really ready. I already practiced a lot of Yubel, but my Centurion practice was like super whack, right? But anyway, what we're going to do now is I just want to show you some more of these cards, and I'm also just going to show you a combo of Yubel in action. Now, I will say this. Now, I am going to say this. Even though I'm excited for Yubel, I think people are going to hate it really quickly. And I have a tendency to, like, as people get annoyed with a deck, I lose interest in it. Like that happened a lot with Snake Eyes. I thought Snake Eyes was fun to play for a while, and then as people got annoyed with it, I also got annoyed with it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna try to play something else. You know, I'm just gonna say right now, for Yubel, I really like this deck. This deck kind of reminds me a bit of like the Dragon Link playstyle, except it has other things going for it that are really unique and really cool and strong. So if people start really hating Yubel, I'm just going to tell you in advance, I'm going to be sticking with this deck for a while. I think I'm going to really be playing a lot of Yubel in the coming formats. I think it's going to be my go-to like ladder climber for a bit, because I really like it. I think it's really fun, and I think it has a lot of things going for it, both going first and going second. So yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer for me. With that being said, let's go look at some of those Yubel cards. We can go to Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega to do that. All right, so far this is what my Yubel list looks like, and I'm not telling you this is a final deck list. This is just where I'm at so far, but more so I just want to talk about some of these cards, because the things going for Yubel are really incredible. For one, this deck feels a little bit like Dinos, because Spirit of Yubel is not once per turn, and this card is the baby on crack. Like, it's so crazy. If this card is destroyed, you get to special summon a Yubel from your deck, your banish pile, your graveyard, your hand. It doesn't matter where it is, you get to special summon it. Not only that, but it's really easy to get Spirit of Yubel on the field, because you have a lot of one card combos in this deck. Basically the whole deck revolves around 0 attack, 0 defense fiends, and so opening of the Spirit Gates is really crazy in this deck, because it searches just that. And yeah, so you can get Samsara D Lotus. This is a one card combo that will special out your Spirit of Yubel from the deck. Spirit of Yubel will then search your continuous spell. With your continuous spell, you can get into your Grave Squirmer. You can pop the Spirit of Yubel, which will let you summon a Yubel. And once you get that set up, you have access to a crazy card, which is Phantom of Yubel. And this card has been leaked, is allegedly going to be in the pack. I'll say this, if this card is in the pack, Yubel is top 3 decks in the game. If it's not in the pack, I think Yubel is just good. I don't think it's like tier 1, you know? I still think it's a really solid deck, but the thing is, Phantom of Yubel is one of the most craziest like custom card level cards I've ever read. It's really silly. So you can special summon Phantom of Yubel by shuffling the materials from your hand, your field, or your graveyard. So it basically doesn't matter where the Yubels are. The materials are super generic. It's literally just a Yubel monster. So not even just Yubel. Like, it can be Terra Incarnate, it can be Spirit of Yubel, it can be Yubel. So any of those, shuffle it back into the deck with any fiend monster with 0 attack and defense, and you get to special summon this card. That special summon effect is not once per turn. So you can summon this card literally 3 times during your turn if you need it. It's really, really stupid. Not to mention, it is a monster negate. This means that if, for example, your opponent decided to hold their Max C for a Gamma, and you just have the materials in hand to plop this card down and still go full combo after, you can just summon Phantom of Yubel by shuffling the materials from your hand into the deck, get a monster negate on field, and then go full combo with one of your many one-card combos. It's so crazy. I mean, like, seriously, I haven't seen a combo deck that can plop down a Maxi negate that fast before. Now, to be fair, people can just shotgun Maxi, right? People can just go Maxi in the draw phase, and in that case, you won't be able to do that. So, like, it's not in the list yet, but I'm really considering running Gamma because I think people are going to be shotgunning Maxi a lot more. People were already shotgunning it for Kashtira just because people would get to inherently special summon them without activating anything. But now this is different. If you don't activate Max C before Phantom of Yubel hits the field, your Max C is never resolving pretty much, unless you have other hand traps that will bait the Phantom so you can go Max C, right? So yeah, Phantom of Yubel, I think this is going to be like a game-changing card. Really, really crazy card. So many things going for it. Genuinely, like, one of the best fusion monsters probably ever printed. It's that good. It's really stupid. And then, you know, like I said earlier, Yubel, the Loving Defender Forever. This is a cool card. It's especially cool because it's a good Super Poly target. Now, not everyone's going to be running Super Poly. I personally really like it, especially for a best of 1 format. It's a really, really good play into Max C. If you have Super Poly in hand, just setting Super Poly can be a huge turn ender, especially if you can land a Yubel monster, because most of the time Super Poly removes like 2 monsters from the field on your opponent's turn. But now, you know, you can potentially wipe their entire field into Max C without really giving them much draws on their turn. And, you know, that can definitely save you. So, yeah, I still think this is like a must run at 1 if you're going to be running Super Poly especially, but even in general, you know. Oh, you also have like a searchable trap that's Super Poly's worst case if you don't have access to this. So in your combo, if you don't need to get your continuous spell, you'll be able to get your trap and do that stuff. There's just so many things going for this deck. It has a little bit of a Fiend Link thing going for it. People call it like the Fiend Dragon Link. As it stands, my build has a bit less of a toolbox just so I can be able to run those Super Polys, and we'll see if I stick to that. Another crazy thing about this deck, and the last one I'll talk about before showing you some combos, Nightmare Throne, our field spell, I think this is going to be UR too. I'm going to say this. I think we're going to get like 4 Yubel URs. We already know this is going to be a UR. I think Spirit of Yubel is going to be a UR. I think Phantom of Yubel, if it's in the game, if it's true, it is going to be UR. There's no way they don't make it UR because it's just too broken. And I think our field spell is going to be broken and also UR, and this might be the one that gets hit first. This might be the one that gets hit first because it'll be impactful enough to hurt the deck, but not impactful enough to kill it. And Konami likes to do that for Master Duel. I don't mind that approach, by the way. I'm not saying that as a diss or anything, but I think this is probably the first card that's getting hit, and I do think this deck will get hit eventually. It's almost inevitable. So Nightmare Throne, it's really, really broken. When this card is activated, you can take 1 Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense from your deck and either add it to your hand or destroy it. So already there, you have the Planet Perlerino effect, and you have it even better because you can also destroy a card. And this is very, very valuable because Nightmare Throne will not only be played in Yubel. Nightmare Throne is a new staple that you'll be playing, that you can play in any deck. The reason for that is because you can play 3 Nightmare Throne, 1 Spirit of Yubel, and 1 Yubel in your deck. And you can go activate Nightmare Throne, destroy Spirit of Yubel, special Yubel from your deck, summon Phantom of Yubel by shuffling the 2 materials into the deck. Worst part about that, later into the duel, because this shuffles back the materials, if you draw into another Nightmare Throne, you'll get to do it again. And that's a very, very free monster negate to land on the field just to, you know, add to your board. But that's not where the field spell ends, especially if you're playing it in Yubel. There's more going for it. So once per turn, if a face-up Yubel monster you control leaves the field by a card effect, you can add to your hand 1 Yubel monster from your deck, graveyard, or your banish pile, whose original level is 1 higher or lower than one of those monsters, and then you can special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions. So what this basically is saying is that once per turn, if you pop a Yubel monster, you get an extra free summon. So not only will you get a summon from like Spirit of Yubel summoning Yubel, but then you'll also get the effect of your field spell, for example, and like summon out, I don't know, like Terra Incarnate if you have access to it or something like that. This comes up often and it's really strong. It's a great effect to have on a field spell. Having a field spell that's a searcher and an extender, it's a little bit overtuned in my opinion. I think this is like one of the best field spells we've seen in a while. This really reminds me of all those like planet field spells, like Planet Perlarino and all that stuff, where it's just like, yeah, it's overtuned. It's insane. They really went all out on this Yubel archetype to make it crazy. I think that's enough yapping about the cards. I am super excited about these cards, and I could yap about Yu-Gi-Oh all day, but I really want to show you at least the one card combo for this deck with like a Samsara D Lotus, just to give you an idea of what we're about to enter in Master Duel. This is going to be changing the game, and genuinely, if we do get Phantom of Yubel, I think there's no doubt that this is going to be a top 3 deck in the game, and I'm all for it. We need to switch up. We need a fresh new format, and this is going to help a lot with that. Even though it's just going to be a new deck for people to hate, at least it gives you something new to complain about, and that's like one of the best parts of Yu-Gi-Oh is complaining, right? So let's get into that. I don't know, fucking combo showcase. What do you even call it? All right, so I'm going to show you just your main one card combo with Samsara D Lotus. It is really, really crazy. And again, there's a lot of ways to get to this combo. You know, you don't need to draw Samsara D Lotus, but we're just going to go with the main guy himself. We're going to normal summon Samsara D Lotus, activate Samsara's effect. It contribute itself to special summon a Yubel from the deck. So you can special summon out Spirit of Yubel right here. And Spirit of Yubel can then activate and set a Yubel spell or trap from your deck. So you're going to be setting the Nightmare Pain, just like so. And because it sets, it also plays around Duel, which is really, really nice. And now you can activate Nightmare Pain. And this card has a lot of crazy things going for it. Not only is it a searcher that pops, but it also is a card that just makes all your Yubels Mekonko cards. Yeah, so while you control a Yubel monster, your opponent's monsters that can attack must attack Yubel monsters. Your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving your Yubel monsters. Why are we overtuning these cards like this? This is a little bit crazy, isn't it? But either way, we're going to go for Nightmare Pain here. We're going to pop Spirit of Yubel, and you want to summon out, you want to search out your Graves Cormer. So add Graves Cormer to hand, and because you popped Spirit of Yubel, you'll get to trigger its effect and special summon the OG Yubel from the deck. So special summon out the Yubel here. I could have put it in attack because we don't care if they attack the Yubel, right? Obviously. But at this point, you want to go for the Graves Cormer effect. It's an extender, right? So it'll special summon itself, and it gives you the option to pop a monster. So we are going to go for it, and this will be our 5th summon. So we're going to go for Yubel here. Special summon out the Yubel Terror Incarnate. Got to get used to summoning those in attack. Yeah. So they could Nibiru us here, and that might look dire, but keep in mind, Graves Cormer is an extender from Grave too. Not only does it extend from hand, but it can also banish itself from the graveyard to special summon, I believe it's a Fiend monster, yeah, with 0 attack, 0 defense from your hand or grave. So if they went Nibiru here, we would get to go Graves Cormer effect, special summon, say, a Spirit of Yubel or whatever, and you could also then fusion summon the Phantom of Yubel. You could use a Nibiru token plus the Spirit of Yubel to go into a Link 2. I think you could go into Cross Sheep, actually, because it's just 2 monsters with different names. Yeah, so you can actually use the token plus Spirit of Yubel, make Cross Sheep, and then make your fusion under Cross Sheep. So while it might not look Nibiru safe, it actually is, even though we don't have a negate on board yet. At this point, we go for Cross Sheep. Now, here, I guess it's a decent point to Nibiru. If they decide to Nibiru here, we lose our Cross Sheep. We still get to do the other things I said, but we wouldn't get the Cross Sheep effect of summoning from grave. So, I mean, that's something, I guess. But even then, I mean, we still get to do a crazy combo if they Nibiru here, because, again, we'll have the token. We can make a Link 2 with the token plus the Spirit of Yubel using the effect of Squirmer. And then we can make a fusion after. Like, we have a lot we can do even if they decided to Nibiru here. But at this point in the combo, you will be dropping a monster negate on the field using the Yubel Terror Incarnate, as well as the regular Yubel, the OG right here. You're going to shuffle both of those back into the deck, and we just special summon out our first monster negate here. So this is a monster negate. We also get to trigger the Cross Sheep special summon from the grave. We'll grab our Samsara D Lotus, throw it right there on the field. So here I'm just going full combo. I'm not thinking too much about hand traps. So with these two right here, we're going to be going into a Yama. So Unchained Soul of Yama, summon it right here, and Yama will trigger, and it will search our Unchained Soul of Sharvara. Once you have Shawarma in your hand, the next thing to do is to summon out an Appaloosa using these two. So now, you know, really don't have to worry about Nibiru anymore. They could have went Nibiru before this, and again, we would have been able to do all this stuff I told you about earlier. And once you drop your Appaloosa on the field, you can go for Grave Squirmer effect in the grave, special summon out the Spirit of Yubel, and you can go for Sharvara, pop the Spirit of Yubel, and summon out the Sharvara. At this point, you'll get to trigger the Spirit of Yubel. You could also trigger the Yama, but you don't want to. You want to hold on to this as an interruption on your opponent's turn. Very, very important. So you just go for Spirit of Yubel effect here, and special summon out the OG Yubel yet again. So summon out the OG Yubel. I could have put in an attack. I forgot again. And here, you want to go for the Soul of Rage using these two. So Soul of Rage. This will trigger the Shawarma in the grave to let you set the Escape of the Unchained. And at this point, you go for another fusion. You're just going to throw down another Phantom of Yubel. Again, the fact that the summon is not once per turn is so ridiculous. So we shuffle back 2 materials into the deck. We get to summon out our Phantom of Yubel. And yeah, that's your 1-card combo. You have 2 monster negates here. You have, obviously, the effect of Unchained Soul of Rage, able to go into SP on opponent's turn. But before you use the Unchained Soul of Rage, you'll probably want to go for Escape of the Unchained. That way you can actually pop this and then trigger the Yama in the grave to special summon it again. And you'll also get the Soul of Rage effect to add a card to your hand. So, you know, you can add like your Lotus, for example, to your hand just to get follow-up on the next turn or something like that, which is a pretty damn good play because obviously this card is crazy. I forgot to mention this, but actually on field, Lotus is also a negate while you control a Yubel monster, I believe. Yeah, if you control a Yubel monster, this card is also a monster negate on field, on top of just being a really good starter. So pretty crazy stuff that your Stratos is also like a monster negate. By the way, I forgot to mention the way that Phantom of Yubel negates is pretty interesting. So Phantom of Yubel will tribute itself and change the monster effect to popping a Yubel monster from your... Or is it, yeah, a Yubel monster from your hand, deck, or field. So that's pretty crazy, right? You can go Phantom of Yubel, pop the Spirit of Yubel in your deck, and summon the regular Yubel in attack position. At which point, if your opponent summons anything in attack position, they'll have to swing into that Yubel and deal with it Nightmare Pain. So they have to out the Nightmare Pain. So with this 1-card combo, we set up 6 really, really strong interruptions, right? Because we get the Phantom of Yubel negate, we have the 2 Appaloosa negates, we have the Suck effect on Unchained, which will get special summoned back after we use our trap. And yeah, that's some really, really strong interruption. This is a really crazy deck. Not to mention the fact that just by popping the Soul of Rage, we'll get to actually add back our follow-up. So, and that's all a 1-card combo. You get even more when you're not doing a 1-card combo. This is just to give you an idea of like the ceiling of this deck. It's going to be absolutely insane to play against this deck. I love it. I think it's awesome. And I know I'm going to hate it when I face it. You know what I mean? But that's just the way of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like, we just play to complain sometimes, it seems. So, yeah, I'm excited for it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm going to make another video probably, hopefully if I have the time, I'm going to try to make a video just covering at least like this deck and Centurion in a little bit more detail before they come out, just so people have a resource until I make like a more dedicated deck profile for both decks. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you. Make sure to subscribe. We lost like almost 400 subscribers after we got hacked. So, you know, hit the button. I'd appreciate it. Okay. Peace.